Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. We have our third and final video today, and that's Bachelorette alum Rachel Lindsay coughing up $43,000 to ex Brian Abasolo in divorce deal. And I know what you're saying, but isn't she already paying him $13,000 a month? Yes, temporary spousal support, but this is different. This is, I believe, a front to the division of some community property. What does this all mean? We're going to get into it. I do want to say, though, it's very hard to cover this topic. You know, we cover almost all different sorts of Bachelor Nation news, or try to at least, the interesting stuff. It's very hard to cover this because I'm trying to cover this from where the law exists in California, which I'm not an attorney. I don't know much about, but I literally interviewed somebody to break it down for me right here, Tilted Lawyer, and we lost subscribers over that. And look, I'm not complaining about losing subscribers. I'm just saying, don't you want to know the facts from an attorney who practices family law in California? People say, oh, Dave, you know, you got it wrong or this or that. I literally did an interview with somebody who knows what they're talking about, 20 years experience. So I'm trying my best to get it right. Bachelorette alum Rachel Lindsay coughs up to $43,000. Let's get into what this actually is. And again, I don't have the court documents here. This is as interpreted by intouchweekly.com. So again, I'm not reading it for myself. All the X's and O's. I'm not crossing my T's and dotting my I's here. So if I miss anything, please let me know. And I'm sure you will. Bachelorette alum Rachel Lindsay and her estranged husband Brian Abasolo reached a deal after he demanded $40,000 from the community property funds. In Touch can exclusively reveal. According to court documents obtained by In Touch, Rachel agreed to transfer to Brian a total of $43,648 from the community estate. Why that number? Maybe that's 50% of the equity they have in the home. I truly have no idea. The funds will be considered an advance distribution of community property to Brian and shall be charged to Brian in the ultimate division of the community estate, the filing noted. Per the agreement, Brian will withdraw his request for a hearing on the matter. As In Touch first reported, Brian asked the court for the five-figure sum days after being awarded $13,000 a month in temporary spousal support from Rachel. Brian said he needed $35,000 to go towards his legal fees and another $5,000 to pay a forensic accountant. You know what's interesting? He paid a forensic accountant. Did she pay a forensic accountant to go after him? I'm not saying things aren't on the straight and narrow, but in these types of things, you need to make sure all the money is where it's supposed to be. So you don't just say, oh, I'm not actually worth anything, and you pocket it all. Like this, short of, and by the way, I have met people. I have worked with some scumbags back in my day, and I did work with this guy who kept like $13,000 in cash in a cooler buried in his backyard. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, you can't keep cash. You're going to be you need to invest that money. You're going to be losing, the interest rate or whatever. Anyhow, I wonder how that, cash is going. I actually think he died. Maybe that cash is still buried in someone's backyard in Middletown, Rhode Island. Anyone out there want to know? Go look in your backyard. Go find a Coleman cooler. So anyhow, you feel how you want about this. I gotta be honest. I mean, there are Bachelor channels that cover finance and statistics and things that are sort of apolitical, but find me a Bachelor commentator that covers topics that can be heavy, and you're going to find people that hate them, because it's like, I'm not siding with Brian here. I'm just saying what I've said all along, which is if they made X amount of money while they were married, they are both entitled to 50% of that. And people have commented saying, Dave, she probably was the one who paid for the house. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point, is she made more money than he did. She was making $60K a month and he was making $1,400 a month. And look, if he was lying about his wages and how much money he was making, that would be a lot of Colombian balls on him to hire a forensic accountant. But either way, he's been called a loser by Nick Viall. I mean, come on. Takes one. She's, they both kind of is seen the ugliness that comes with divorce. Nobody won here, except the only person that won here is probably the lawyer. Anyhow, there's more to the story. So we continue. So Brian claims he only brings in $1,300 a month. So I guess there's really nothing else Brian told the court, for 6 months, my attorneys have been asking Rachel for a reasonable contribution to my attorney's fees and costs so that I can level the playing field. But she abjectly refuses. I'm not able to use my forensic accountant, Anna Lee, because she will not work without being paid. Rachel believes she has an exclusive right to access our community property funds to pay for her professionals. Rachel also believes our community property home is all hers, Brian told the court. Her lawyer argued Brian is attempting to relitigate matters already addressed at the hearing on his own motion less than 1 month ago. At the July 10th, 2024 hearing, Brian's counsel made an oral argument for Brian's access to community property funds. The court denied Brian's counsel's oral request because it was not initially requested in Brian's moving papers. Her lawyer added Brian's ex parte application to advance the hearing on his RFO is inappropriate and abuse of the ex parte application process and should be denied entirely as there is not one scintilla of exigence here. I have no idea what that means. The attorney noted it is not so simple as cutting Brian yet another check to quell his unending need for cash. Just as he could not expect never-ending funds from Rachel during their marriage, he cannot expect her to hand over every dollar he demands of her now. Moreover, the community estate has been depleted and there is nothing to give him. Rachel does not have the money required to fund Brian's incessant litigation, particularly with no good faith and without adequate disclosures on his end. Despite her initial opposition, Rachel has now agreed to turn over the funds. Brian filed for divorce on January 1st. This is what's interesting to me. Why did she agree to, I understand. She probably is like, you know what, take the money, leave me alone. By agreeing to pay this, he's not going to take it to court. By all means, there could be multiple situations. She could be being harassed here by him, or these could just be strongly worded words from a lawyer who's trying to send a message. But the real message is that she agreed to pay him. So clearly they thought they would lose in court or don't want to spend more money there. Seeing what they have to say here. So she's called him a leech, and I don't know, whatever. People are dug in on their opinions. My opinion of this is not like, I'm sorry. I don't bring my emotion into this. I'm seeing it sort of psychopathically, X's and O's, who's owed what. I have no idea. We haven't seen the total breakdown. How much money has this family, quote unquote, made since they got married? That divided by the amount of time is the temporary spousal support. So she's making $60K a month on average. And by the way, she is making good money. I'll play right here. She's literally doing an interview where she's, name dropping her sponsors, which I don't blame her. I got sponsors all day long. Here's what Omar, the Tilted Lawyer, had to say about community property.
Most of the trials that I do end up involving some form of alimony, arguments, division of property, who gets to keep the house. Am I entitled to more than half of the house? Division of community property, separate property, those kinds of things.
Okay, community property seems to be what we're going to be discussing here, but maybe there's some other aspects. But I think that's going to be a key point in this divorce. So we've got that, and then as we saw, that's exactly what it is. So I'm guessing two things going on. There's community property, so splitting up what is hers and what is his, and I guess this advance of $43,000 goes to show that that's half of the community property, or at least a portion thereof, if she has to continue to paying him. Plus the $13,000 a month is what she's making. That is your sort of income, the cash flow. And hers is $60,000, and the judge ordered $13,000 of that fairly goes to him to maintain their quality of life. I don't know what else to say. I don't know why this is sort of so controversial on my end. I'm not digging my toes in. I'm just saying if what's fair is fair. And again, people have said in the comment section, yeah, Dave, but historically black women make only 84% to $1 of a white man. And it's like, Brian's family's from Colombia. I'm not trying to get into this whole who's owed what based on historic, we just know how much she makes. She's very successful. She makes a lot of money. He is not. Call him a loser, call him a leech, call him all these things, but that's what the judge has ruled. Don't shoot the messenger. I mean, you already have. But those are my thoughts. Here's what Rachel had to say about lessons she's learned moving forward. And I'll continue to promote Rachel. Not that she needs it, but I think she's a great podcaster. I think she does a really good job with her opinions on these kind of heavy topics she covers and all of that. I don't, people want there to be some sort of beef when there isn't. I've sort of promoted and defended Rachel from literal day one.
I don't know if it's the best, but the first person who pulled me to the side was Tia Mowry. I ran into her at a restaurant. And And she told me, and it was, I had a bad day. And she didn't know that. I was going to see somebody else and I ran into her. And she said to me, she's gone through divorce as well. She's on the other side of it. And her words of encouragement of telling me how I will be okay, how things will come back to me, even though I don't think that they will. And it's a mantra. I say it to myself every single morning. She said, don't look at the past, it'll hold you back. Don't look at the future, it'll give you anxiety. Every day, stay in the present, because every day you make it through and you get stronger. And I say that to myself every single morning. And I don't worry about the things I can't control. And I just stay in the present. And every day I'm like, wow, I survived that day and I'm stronger for it. So I want to give back like people have given back to me. And I really want to find a way to help people who have gone through some of the things that I've gone through so they can get on the other side of it.
One thing about you is you're constantly switching it up on the carpet. You either have your braids in. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I think they're about to get into the sponsor, but either way, great advice from Rachel. This music is so terrible in the background of this E-News clip. So terrible. But that, again, that's not their fault. Just like, yikes. All right. This may be the final update. I don't know what else there is because they're saying this settles things. Maybe the final update. Rachel pays another $43K. Think about it what you want. But again, there are plenty of content creators who don't cover these types of things because they do get messy. And just, if anything, if you could just appreciate it, I'm giving it my best shot. Okie dokie. All right. That's it for me. I'll be back this afternoon with another episode of the Rush Hour podcast. We'll see you then.